I mean, Robert Adams is really one of the most significant photographers of our era. He's one of the most important photographers working within the American tradition, particularly within the American landscape tradition. And he comes at the end of a series of modernist photographers who were extremely important to the representation of the American landscape, particularly in the West. And Adams is the latest in this long line of American landscape photographers. But he does something very different with the landscape. He presents it in a new way in response to the way that the landscape was changing from the late 1960s onwards. This is Robert Adams' first major series of photographs, landscape series of photographs called The New West, that was made in Colorado Springs, in Colorado, where he lived. And it's a series which really foregrounds his interest in the changing nature of the American landscape. It was changing very dramatically at this time, and above all there was this process of very intense urbanization going on. And this really bothered Robert Adams, and he began to photograph it. He began to photograph the transformation of the Colorado Springs area. And one of these photographs that we see here is very typical of what Adams was doing at the time. And the photograph, which is at once very ordinary, is also very complex in the way it's constructed. You can see here the shadow which the house forms. It looks almost like a church, like some sort of religious building. And the other important way is the way that the building is integrated into the landscape. You can see the Rocky Mountains in the background. And this relationship between human construction, between the human man-made environment and the natural environment was something that Adams would explore throughout his career as a photographer. It's traditionally been a way of representing the landscape that was very romantic. It was very engaged with symbolist elements and symbolist subject matter. And Adams brings a kind of edgier, rawer, more urban feel to that quality of representation. He turns away from typical landscape subjects and focuses very directly on the urban environment and what the urban environment has to offer in visual terms. And he's very focused on the process of change and the process of transformation, which he regards as being increasingly rapid and increasingly damaging to the environment in which all of us live. Books are extremely important to Robert Adams. He began his interest in photography by looking at books. And really for him originally the photograph was a book form. Photograph was made to be displayed in books. And this exhibition contains over 40 of Robert Adams' books, and we see how important the construction of narrative and storytelling through the book is. And he continues to make very, very innovative photographic books today.